balding areas, I began, of course, the easy thing was to buy wigs, to buy wigs and put them on, and of course, because I'm very, fashion conscious, I was not going to buy the cheapest wigs. And so I was spending money on wigs and, hairstyle change. 1 minute it's short, next minute it's the length that you're seeing here, but just really just having fun with it anyways. I am a person who's very comfortable in my skin. And I feel free to play. What helped me with that, of course, having been an athlete, so constantly interacting with people and in the public eye, being a speaker even at that time, teaching, yes, at university at that time. So very comfortable with anything that I would do. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't putting on wigs trying to pretend that it was my hair. It was clear that I had a wig on and I was having fun, even though we'll have to admit that it looked half decent. But if I can pick on myself. So I began to wear wigs of different types, have fun with it, and just hoping that the hair would come back. But that was not to be the case. So I was testing the waters with different things. What would it be like in the daytime, or when I'm going out in the evening? How comfortable I want it to be, and then all the issues that pertain to the stocking, the head, and all of those things that we have to do when you're wearing a wig. May I remind you, as I said, that I braided my
Apologies. I had yes.
when situations that you have to manage, like we all have things that come upon us, the vicissitudes of life that we can't always predict come upon us, and we might get a little bit anxious or whatever. And I noticed that even a niece, obviously younger than me, she was losing a thinning hair. I noticed that one of my sisters, when I checked, she had some hair loss, but she was always wearing wigs and that anyways, so it wasn't obvious. But when I began to pay attention to it, it became obvious that that might be a bit of heredity. And so I, all my attempts to just really do all the massages and the scalp manipulation and all of that did not seem to be doing the trick. And so in order not to have to be careful about exactly, or cutting my hair so short that it had body in it, and or doing things to try to cover up the balding areas, I began, of course, the easy thing was to buy wigs, to buy wigs and put them on, and of course, because I'm very, fashion conscious, I was not going to buy the cheapest wigs. And so I was spending money on wigs and, hairstyle change. 1 minute it's short, next minute it's the length that you're seeing here, but just really just having fun with it anyways. I am a person who's very comfortable in my skin. And I feel free to play. What helped me with that, of course, having been an athlete, so constantly interacting with people and in the public eye, being a speaker even at that time, teaching, yes, at university at that time. So very comfortable with anything that I would do. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't putting on wigs trying to pretend that it was my hair. It was clear that I had a wig on and I was having fun, even though we'll have to admit that it looked half decent. um, but if I can pick on myself. So I began to wear wigs of different types, have fun with it, and just hoping that the hair would come back. But that was not to be the case. So I was testing the waters with different things. What would it be like in the daytime, or when I'm going out in the evening? How comfortable I want it to be, and then all the issues that pertain to the stocking, the head, and all of those things that we have to do when you're wearing a wig. May I remind you, as I said, that I braided my hair maybe twice or three times in my entire life in terms of adding extensions. So I just liked to be free. That's one thing. And the other thing is that I never really had time to actually be constantly going to the hairdresser. I can't leave the house because my hair is not what it needs to be, and I need to be going out and that type of thing. So I was reminding myself of that, the ease of life, right? So this is when I used to have hair. And of course, everything you saw in the last few slides was me adjusting to this thinning hair. So as the athlete, as I said, these transitions that I was doing, this was me in 2016 at the age of 70 at the finish line of my 5K. And I'm reminding myself with all of this, as you can notice, obviously, I'm, having fun with the blonde hair, but it's shorter, clearly much shorter, because doing these types of activities, I don't need to have, the bother of having, extensions or a wig that is of any other length. So this was very short, cropped, just to the nape of my neck. Very active and didn't want to be hindered by all of this. So the decision that I finally made, now I introduce you to the new me. I introduced you to the me that is sitting down here today and sharing with you simply Edina Bain. And Edina Bain without hair. This was Edina Bain without hair. And I'll tell you the process that I'm going through here, that I had to make decisions that when I'm lecturing, what I should look like, that it wouldn't appear. These are the decisions, these things that were going around in my head, that I needed to look still professional. I needed to look serious. And I know that with a bald head, people don't know the reason why. And I didn't want to I'm doing something that is a little bit on the edge, because I was intentionally being more bold in my lip colors, intentionally contrasting the things that I was wearing. And as you will see, in terms of my glasses or earrings, they became the thing that was more obvious. The jewelry that I wore around my neck that I may not normally wear if I were out in the daytime or sitting in a room lecturing or standing up as a keynote speaker to give a speech. Depending on the context. But all of a sudden, these things became my adorning. It wasn't about the hair. There was no style to the hair, even though at times I chuckled when some people would say to me, oh, I love your hairstyle. And I said, maybe you want to rephrase that. You just like the look, but there is no hair. So clearly. So as I say, I continue to have fun with this fact. And so I'm beginning to share with you, and I hope it's obvious, that what you do when you have concerns, you may not be comfortable with the fact that it might be alopecia, it might be something else, it might be that you are a survivor of cancer, you lost your hair, whatever it might be, the baldness, that it could speak to anyone, right? So I'm beginning to adorn, in other words, to take the attention away from the thing that I wasn't quite sure how people would deal with it, how they would feel about it, what was their what their opinions, not that I was living for their opinions, but I also wasn't trying to make anyone uncomfortable. And of course, you know, the place that could be where people are uncomfortable is in church, right? And especially because of who I am, as I said to you, I am an ordained minister of the gospel, international secretary of an international fellowship of ministries that, you know, that have overseership in several countries, along with me lecturing on the other things that I lecture on. I don't want to talk about those because that's not why we're here today, but simply to say I was in a, you know, I couldn't have the mindset to just, I'll do whatever I want and it doesn't matter how people are affected by it, because of course, I had young people that were looking up to me for direction. And of course, we have come into so much teaching that may not be correct or exactly accurate, and that people have been held in bondage by it. So especially in the Christian circle, especially in the community of faith, I was constantly measuring what the responses of people would be as I did this. So this was me as the lecturer figuring out the right way to go. So if it was the hair and the boldness in the face, the makeup and the jewelry, then I would be a little bit more sober in my dress. And so all of this was being tested at the time, right? This is Dr. B in the pulpit, right? Like here, there is no hair. And I am not wearing the headgear to cover the head because of what? Because by now, I am settled into this, and as a matter of fact, it's been very helpful. Some people that were struggling that now have gone bald. I didn't go on Facebook or YouTube and say, hey, this is the big reveal, but I realized that people who have done it after me, that I could not have imagined that they would ever do this. They had the lace front weave and wigs and all of the weaves and the various things. Never in any, always elaborate hairstyles with wigs and weaves. And I would never imagine, because of the personalities of those individuals and how they portray themselves in the Christian circle, that they would then go ahead and bald their hair. But I'm finding now that I see the pattern that they're doing, and again, being a bit more conscious about what they do with the face in terms of makeup and things like that. Not saying that we have to be overly heavily made up and uncomfortable if that's not our thing, but certainly if the roof needs painting, we paint the roof, right? So if it is that we're going to make a signature, because we wear colors, so if we make a signature with our lips or with our eyes or other things that would help with the process, which I did, then that has got to be okay, all right? Because the important thing is that we want to be at peace so that we can serve God. We want to be at peace so that we can concentrate on the things that have significant impact upon life, and not really figuring out all the time how pleased people would be with the things that we do, especially if we are feeling some people have gotten depressed, they've been sort of emotionally struggling with the whole loss of hair. Why? Because we have so much been coached that the woman's beauty is her hair. I always objected to that because, of course, we talk about an inner beauty. But I know that of people of all race, the wonderful beauty of so many of bald heads or low hair. Who said that hair had to be long? So that we know it's the colonization of our minds that we need to be liberated from, that it has to be long hair. We talk about people that have long hairs, they have good hair, her hair is good hair, that type of thing, as if your hair is shorter, it's bad hair, whatever that's supposed to translate into. But it obviously comes from a place where we've been indoctrinated and we bought into it, we ate it all up and began to describe ourselves in those terms. I have this hat on, as I started to say, simply because from several times going into the pulpit with the bald head and just saying to people, take a minute and get used to me, and then begin to listen and focus on the word of God, because I know when you're exposed for the first time, that people are going to have reactions, because according to what they look in the book of Corinthians and 1 Corinthians 11, and they make quotations about the shaved head is an abomination, because of how the shaving of the head for mourning, or women that were prostitutes, or when people were mourning and they, grieved, would shave their heads, type of thing. But the Bible says that if indeed it is an abomination to shave your head, then don't, and so you're not going to be able to have this conversation, and certainly I didn't with everybody that I meet, but there was an opportunity to say to them right away, but I'm here to teach the word. I'm here to talk to you as women. I'm here to talk to you as people. So let's just get over it and move on, and hope that whatever comes out of my mouth is what is what your focus will be. But this is on because, of course, we find out men who are bald will know that. So the head sweats. And so here is a useful tool for helping to keep that in. And so I am, instead of having to wipe in a head while you're teaching or speaking, of course, when you're preaching, get very animated, you're walking around, you're around for a while, the adrenaline, just flows. And so that is why I have this hat on, but underneath there is no covering of the hat. So if I were to turn around, if I had a picture with me facing, you would see my bald head. So this is not covering up. This is me totally comfortable with my process at this time. And so this is me again, as I'm saying, the soberness of the outfit that I'm wearing, but I've got the big earrings on. And of course, the lips are their signature again, and the brows. So I did not struggle with this mentally, but spiritually, I had to be considering, I just really, not that I had to be, but of course we have to be intentional about life. And so I considered the impact that it might have, but thank God I had the opportunity to speak to people and that would ask and to tell them, not why my hair was shaven, right? But simply what my not my views, but my clear understanding of short hair, and low cut hair, or no hair would be like. One of the things that was to my advantage is that I'm just trying not to be too long, so I'm giving you a whole story and a history in little bits, and as it comes to me, I just want it to flow so that we can relax and just hear this. Right, is that once I was walking with my husband, and we were taking a road trip, and we went into some place to have take a break and have some coffee. And as we walked in, this about a 40-something-ish young lady said, "Oh, you're so cool, and I just really like your style." And because she was talking about that and glasses that I was wearing as well. And then as we were in the line waiting to get our coffee, she came back and she says, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Here I am talking about liking your style and whatever." She said, "I hope I didn't offend you," because immediately she thought, my God, what if she's a survivor? So she thought maybe I was a survivor of cancer. And she was there telling me that she liked my style. So she came back to apologize. And of course, I assured her that that I wasn't, thank God, but thanked her for the compliment. So these are the things that people are going through. They're afraid to ask. They're not sure. The ones who love to judge don't know if they should judge you because you didn't tell them. They were not there travailing for you in prayer because they heard that you had some dreaded disease with a name that they're afraid to call, and they do not know what to do about it. But as I said, I walk through doors and I stand firmly in them, and I think that the fact that I'm comfortable with it also helps to make people comfortable. So I never had any emotional stress about it, but I was considerate in my decisions because I know that some people might be impacted. Yeah. So my hair came off in COVID because, it came all off because my hairdresser, of course, she was making a pretty penny from me because I was getting these hair bits that she was importing, and whatever I had on the hair was so light as if it's my own hair. So she was having a grand time with me and these hair things. And she was trying to tell me that she was only seeing one other person and she would see me and she wouldn't see anybody else. But I was not about to take that chance. I said, I'm not going to let here put me into that space, because at that time in 2020, we didn't know what was happening. It was not as obvious. Now we have a lot of information and more meaningful information about it. And thank God, during this whole process and up to now, I have not been impacted in any way by COVID and any of its strains that have come along. And so it was one day I said, I'm not going to struggle with this thing, waiting for here to be done. You're in this in-between place. And I went into the bathroom one day when I was having my shower. So in the shower, so I'm not looking at it, I'm not trying to be careful. And in the shower, I actually took to it and I cut whatever hair. I cut the hair off and I took a razor and I shaved it. In other words, it didn't have to be perfect. The one thing I knew is that when I came back out of the shower, I would have to finish this job. There was no turning back. There were so many other things that we had to be considering during this time, and I did not want my hair and an issue being part of it. We were rearranging finances, not quite sure what to do, making decisions to use credit cards and hold on to your cash because we don't know what was happening in the market, watching all of that. I didn't want to be making these kind of decisions about this waft that was on my head. And so I made a decision to take it off. It was thinning. I was trying to preserve it. Then I had gotten this place of the wigs, the longer ones, the Afro-looking ones, the extra long ones, the, and to the short blonde ones, and short and light and free. And eventually it was, okay, this is it. I shaved it off and I have not looked back. So my hair loss is not due to any illness, but I tell you now, because when you're shaving all the time, then of course you find in some areas the hair wouldn't grow back anyways. It's very light and feathery, but that is how my hair came out. It wasn't, thank God, due to illness. Friends that are okay with me, some of them would say, only a strong woman. A lot of men said to me, only a strong woman at your age, at the age of 70, could do that. They spoke of my boldness. Family was, oh my gosh. And of course, because oh my gosh, they're wondering, what are the people going to say? Because you're in the Christian circle, the church circle, what are they going to say? But I wasn't judged for it. I mean, one of the things that was working for me, I know exactly what the shape of my head was. I know that I have a decently shaped head, and that's not the case. Some of us have the flatter side head, and it doesn't, necessarily look like what we would want it to look like if we have our heads shaven. Because again, at some point in my university time playing basketball, I used to cut my hair really, really low because it was easy, as I said, with putting out all of the salt that comes out of my pores. It was easy to go into and wash the hair. It's short, dry, get out, and good to go again. Also, at one point, as I said, I was playing basketball. I was modeling at the same time, seriously. And so one of the features that you can see, I have very long hands, long fingers, and I have a long neck. And so there's a lot of space between my ears and my shoulders and, the top area of my, near my collarbone. And so those were some of the sales features for me as a photographic model, with my hands and the long, beautiful sort of native type earrings and things like that and big necklaces and things like that around my neck. And so that worked well for me in both instances. And so I had that going for me, but I was not distressed in any way at all. And I just want to say that what I did, and this is going to go, I'm going to show you quite quickly. I'm trying to keep this within actually, I thought that I would be shorter than this, but I just really want, when I leave with this, that you get a sense, it's something you can pull on to help you through your processes if you are in distress about this and not feeling good about yourself. Be comfortable in your skin. What I did, as I said, this is the canvas which I paint. Nothing on, no glasses. And what I have done, as you notice, watch my clothes, watch what I'm doing. There are times when it's subtle, it's in the browns, like the color of my skin, and at other times I would scream at you in that sense with the colors that I would have on. Again, the lips being a feature and the eyes. And of course, here again, a bold mixture of colors, but see the size of the glasses, right? So, so I made a decision to buy glasses. I have on these ones here that, and these, because I do wear glasses, and even those big ones, they are prescription glasses. And I have on glasses here tonight. The last thing that I'm going to do, but I'll show you. This is me at a few months before I turned 73, like in October of 2023. And this is me on my way to church. And so it's just walking into spaces. I had one occasion where I was going to be interviewed, as a matter of fact, to do a lecture for someone. And it was during the time of COVID, and it was being virtual as this webinar is. And he sort of was he was kind of dancing around a bit, and he says, you know, I notice that you have, I noticed, I said, I know what you're going to say. I said, yeah, my head is bald. And he says, you know, I have some people that would be on, and they're my usual listeners. I said, it's not a problem. I said, I'll put a head wrap on. I said, you know why? Because I'm not going to allow this and people's particular idiosyncrasies or their sensitivities to deprive them of an opportunity to hear the word of God. I said, so no problem. That's as comfortable as I am. I'm not trying to prove a point to anybody. I'll do what is necessary so that the word of God would go forth. And that was important enough. I said, no problem, right? I go to that individual's church, visit at times, and there's no problem with this head. It's doing that presentation. He wasn't sure how it would affect his audience during that time, and so I just did. So that's the only occasion that I've had with that. So you see the boldness with the glasses, all bejeweled. Here am I again with a Maui James, and of course I have braces in my mouth, not for style, not because of buck teeth or anything like that. It's because I had extra teeth, you know, even at that age, all my teeth in my mouth. And it was getting difficult because my jawlines and my jaws are not that wide, and so it was getting crowded. They had to take them out and then just put you can see I'm still wearing, have put these braces in to help to move things around. So here I am throwing shade again, having fun all the time with the process, totally comfortable. Of course, I have a friend sitting next to me, so I just chose to block that part of the picture out. And so here we are with the presentation of my journey with no hair. And so what I'm going to say to you tonight, okay, as I say, this is a 73-year-old woman sitting before you. And as I say, I've lived a healthy lifestyle. I will have fun. I am not going to be stressed with the life that I have to live in this body, however it has aged and what it has done, including my hair. And so what I will encourage you to do, I wear glasses, so I have several prescription glasses. This is one of my prescription glasses, and I'll keep changing glasses, and we're going to end on this. So you find something that you can do. This is that glasses, the bejeweled glasses that you've seen. This is also prescription. So these are not put it on if you want to. I need these to drive, etc. Okay, I don't need them to read. I need them to drive. This biggie is a prescription glasses. So I am saying that this has become my look. So by the time you get beyond my necklace, my lipstick, and my eyeglasses, you're not so concerned about my hair. I get a lot of comments from all kinds of women, all nationalities, about my glasses that I'm wearing. And so I have fun with sourcing these and saving a lot of money on doing my hair, and I put it into glasses. So for real, if I'm sitting down, I just want to do some reading, my eyes are tired, these are just reading glasses, the simple professorial reading glasses, simple and black. So I can do, and here we are, big, cat-eyed, square, whatever the case might be, colorful. I am here, I'm making a statement that I'm comfortable in my skin, and whatever this is, I'll let nobody tell me that longer hair is the way to go. And if you don't have any hair, find something, even if your head is not quite the shape that you think that looks good on people who have bald heads, do something with it. Be creative with your makeup. Use what you have, and work with it, and be comfortable. Glory be to God that you have a head still on you, even though there might be no hair on it. Glory to God. And I want to end. I'm telling you, this is life for me every day. I have fun with my glasses. This has become what people would what people with hair would enjoy, and doing all the fancy stuffs with. I've made a decision to do it with my eyewear. And so I'm suggesting to you, find something that you could work with, make a decision, uh, get a look, feel comfortable with it. But the worse than a bald head is a terrible toupee that's sitting on the head, not quite right, and that type of thing. And you know that it's all jacked up, right? So I think work with the head. The head is yours. You're not going to cut it off. Work with it. Find something. Get creative with your makeup. And it can be simple, but do something that you're comfortable with, that you're having fun. That when you look at yourself, you feel that you are in your element. So that is what I would suggest to you. Find something to do. Have fun with it. Enjoy the space that you're living in, and just be grateful. Yeah, just be grateful for life. Don't spend it on this. Try to get from that space of any mental torment and torture because of your hair. And do not let your decisions to make yourself comfortable and feel comfortable with your hair loss. Don't let your decision be determined by people who would judge you and they're not in your shoes. All right. So I just want to thank you very much for and hope that you enjoy the rest of the webinar. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Diana Bain, for your wonderful presentation. I know that you're probably in the Caribbean somewhere on a journey and all that, but I really appreciate your work and what you have shared with us. I'm just gonna share a few things and then we will wrap up this webinar. Like I said earlier, this is the first one we're doing, and the aim is to try to grow a community around persons, men, women, kids, people from all walks of life, who have found themselves struggling with hair loss. Could be from whatever sources must have. I mean, it could be hereditary sickness, choice. Growing that community so that people, especially younger people, can feel comfortable, or they can begin to move towards being comfortable. It takes time to get to that point where she's at. So it's not that we're saying get to where she's at right away. It's a process. So before I round up the webinar, is there any comments from anybody? What stuck out to you? What your takeaway from what she from what she shared so far? Anybody? Okay. For me, there were several takeaways. From me, which I'm just going to try to add just add a few things to it. One of it is this. She said something about there's a time you would have hair. So in everybody's um, time, or in a lifetime, there's a time that you would have hair, and there's a time your hair may begin to thin, maybe due to age, or maybe due to stress, or due to, you know, and then there will be a time you may not have as much hair as you had before. For example, if I, as a person, when I was younger, I had my hair was, you see where I'm touching, my hair used to be around here. My hair, when I was younger, I had hair coming to my eyes. As a young person, I had hair coming coming very close to my eyelashes. But as I got older, I noticed, in fact, the first time I noticed that my hair was thinning, or my edges were thinning, was when a family member pointed it out and said, what's your hair, it's somebody close to me. So that was when I actually even began to notice that my hair wasn't looking the way it used to before, when I was younger. And like every other person, I was a little concerned, and then I began to look for information. Okay, how do I get the hair back? You start getting, you lose your peace. Let me use that word. You lose your peace, and you're using that energy that you're supposed to use for other productive things to try to fight some things that are just natural. So again, there's a time that many of us would have hair, and there's a time we would have to go through that process. Okay. And another thing that she said that stuck out to me is that, it took her time to settle into her new look. We saw a video of her when she had hair, and then when she no longer had hair. And that's why I said, the purpose of this webinar is not to say, oh, you need to get to where Dr. Edina is right away, but to grab a few things from her story, and understanding that it takes time to move from one sphere of life to another. And loss, like I probably said at the beginning, when there's a loss, there's going to be grief. And grief is a journey. Grief is a journey that starts and does not have a destination. And within the time that you're grieving, and one other thing I want to also throw in here is that acknowledging grief is one very, very important aspect, because some of us don't even slow down enough to know what is actually happening to me. We just get into that mode of trying to fix, oh, trying to fix. Oh, what can I do? My edges are thinning. Okay, how do I get it back? Oh, I'm losing hair at the back here. What can I do to get it out? My hair is not growing as long as it used to be. Oh, what can I do? So we're just in that mode of fixing. And most times, especially if it is hair loss due to aging, you probably might just be fighting nature. So we spend a lot of time trying to fix, than actually slowing down, breathing, and trying to understand what is going on within us, and coming to that point of, oh, this is what is happening to me. I lost something that had to do with my body. I lost something that I used to have before, but now it's not there anymore. And how is my mind body and spirit responding to it. Because sometimes you find that grief might take you to anger, grief might take you to depression, grief might take you to uncontrollable tears. Grief can take you in different direction, and most times those directions that it takes you to, if you begin to pay attention to it, they might be helpful in the long run than when we find ourselves in the trying to fix mode. Fix, you want to fix, you want to fix, you want to fix. So that's one of the things that it's I'm taking away from this video. And then to round it up, she said something. She said, I'm not going to be stressed up. I'm not going to be stressed up in what is happening in my body, or about what people would say or not say. And especially for us that are Christians, we have some misunderstanding and misapplication of some scriptures, especially that Corinthians scripture that she mentioned. It's an abomination. We interpret it in so many ways that is not helpful for Christians, that is not helpful for people, and even adds to the shame and guilt that people deal with. Some people have hair loss not because, like Dr. Edina, for example, her own was more of choice. I say, look, I am choosing to shave my hair so that I can attend to other things. It was more of choice. But there are some hair loss that are not there, maybe due to illness, maybe due to sickness. Maybe there are some that are a product of stress. There are some that are hereditary. They are hereditary, maybe due to I have a question here. I'm going to look at that shortly. Maybe due to your family makeup and all that, So not being stressed up about what is going on. And I love, again, the way she said, finding peace. And again, like I said, it may take time for you to get there, but beginning to think in that direction is a place to start. That's why I said grief. And in the other subsequent webinars that we're going to have, this is like I said earlier, this is the inaugural ones. There are areas that we are going to be looking at, in other webinars, as regards to grief, our response to it, as regards to how we understand grief, as regards to how we cope. There's a lot to explore when it comes to grief, because it's also an emotion that we will deal with at different stages of our life. And the last thing she talked about is having fun and being creative with yourself, being creative with your body, being creative with where you have found yourself, and not so much in fix mode, where we start putting our hands into so many things that we should not be putting our hands into. And so creativity with our body, creativity with how we look, creativity. And another thing she said is being comfortable in our in our in how we look, in who you are, in how we are, irrespective of what people say, or what your members of your congregation and all those things are saying. So those are the things for me that came out of the video. And with time, I have a comment here, and it says spending money unnecessarily to fix it. Yeah, that's another thing. We find ourselves spending a lot of money trying to fix what we have, what is actually unfixable. At the end of the day, you try this and try that and try this. At the end of the day, it even brings more damage, to what you're trying to salvage. And even for men too, you're trying, you're losing hair here, or maybe it's at the back, or maybe it's at the front, and then you try this hormone, try this one, try that one. It will make your hair, try to fix what is a natural process, and one other question here is, how would she have responded differently if she was in her 40s? Well, I don't know. I'm going to send a question to her, and I would have her send a response. And like I said earlier, we're going to have presentation and some of the comments here, we're going to put them together, and they're going to be accessible on my channel or on my wife's channel, which is Healthy Parenting with Fun. My channel is Healthy Spirituality with Omoike. It's a growing channel because I really don't have time to put content in there, because there's so many things that I'm trying to put in place right now, and part of it is this webinar, and then we're going to have the main Black Natural Hair celebration in the fall. So there's a lot of things that I'm trying to put a structure to, and that's why my channel has been low on videos. But this will be there. I'm going to make our time to structure it and put it there. And also you can go to my wife's channel, Healthy Parenting with Fun. I will try and put it in the chat box so that you can watch this video at your own time. Send your questions and we can channel it to Dr. Edina, and when she responds, we can put it back. And hopefully within maybe sometime in the summer or early fall, I'm going to have her back when she actually has, when she can be here live, so that we can interact with her in some other areas and also some other places. So it's the start of a great community that we are building. As in we should not just be there to celebrate people with hair, but we must also celebrate people who don't carry their hair or who do not have hair anymore for different reasons. So we must be able to celebrate both. And so that brings us to the end of this webinar. Just quickly again, the first Christian Black Natural Hair celebration will be coming up in the fall, and it's also a community, a growing community to promote Black natural hair acceptance, its care, its celebration amongst God's people. Also, the community, we seek to provide spiritual and emotional support to those who struggle spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. And third, to our community, the first Christian Black natural hair community, we seek to create space for connection, for education. You can see when Dr. Edina was presenting, her ministry is also into education, transformational ministry and things. And we're going to be working with her in the few months to come to bring up more education, especially to our community, and also a place where we can pray for each other and support each other. And so hopefully I'll be reaching out to you again soon. My email is flyomore@yahoo.com. And if you have any other questions, contribution, whatever you need, just reach out to me, and I would get back with you. So with that, if there's nothing else to say from any of our participants, I would like to thank you all for making our time to be here. And also for those that will be watching later on my channel, my wife's channel, let's try to connect. Let's try to grow this community of God's children who will be connecting, educating, and praying with each other through some of the challenges of life that we have to deal with. So thank you all, and bye bye for now. Okay, so let me stop the recording. Okay, stop.